Now, today is going to be all about community, the very fundamental aspect of the Things Network. Kicking off the first keynote, I have a special person from the Things Network. He's also the global community manager, and some of you may have seen him in the LoRaWAN Academy. He's also the organizer of the conference, and give it up for Lawrence Slats.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Rish. Very happy to be here on the first day, or third day. Was looking forward to walk down the stairs already for 3 days, so it's finally happening. It reminded a little bit about me giving a keynote a little time back, which was in Singapore. So I was invited to join a panel about the future of the Internet of Things in the InnoFest Unbound conference. So now we had a slot for about 40-50 minutes, and I was sitting next to a guy from Huawei, someone from Salesforce, and a third person from McLaren Applied Technologies. And I was sitting there, very interesting panel, at least for about 75% of all the panelists joining in. Because what they actually didn't know, actually it was taking place about 2 years ago, where I wasn't even graduated from university. I just joined in the Things Network as an intern. And I think I wasn't even working here, or wasn't even involved for 2 months. I just learned about LoRa for the first time, and I was invited to join the panel as an expert on the field of IoT. So very happy, very nice experience. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited again the year after. So, but I'm still here on stage, so very happy to be here. So in the next, I think, 15-20 minutes, I'm going to talk about communities. And when I joined, about 2 years ago, the world map looked a little bit like this. So all the blue dots you see here, those are our communities. Like a collaboration between different parties that are together rolling out the network, building value on top of it. So if we jump a little bit more further on, after a year, it looked a little bit like this. Every dot represents one community. After 18 months, it looked like this. And now after about 2 years, well, you've seen the video, we have 30,000 developers spread across 550 communities, 90 countries together, creating about 4 million messages that are sent over our network every day. So we have been doing something quite well. And I'm not talking about the technology, but mainly about the community. And that will be the theme for today as well. So I'd like to highlight a few things that we've learned along the way, the few key points. And I'm very happy to ask you, when you go home, whether it is in the Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, or America, just keep the 4 things in mind, because you're all going to further spread the story of the Things Network and around LoRa. All right, let's start. 4 different things I'd like to discuss. First thing, think like a rock star. I haven't really made this up myself. I got it from a book with the same title. And what it basically goes is, don't focus on the masses that are kind of interacted with your brand or with the whole company, but focus on a very small group of fans. Because the fans, they can identify themselves with the company, with the project. And they are very loyal, and they can really help the brand further. So focus on a small group of brand and try to transform them into ambassadors. And how we've tried to do this a little bit was, now for every community we have, 550 now in total, we have at least one initiator and one or several core team members. So we put them on stage, we give them the identity, and this brings them forward, and we try to convey the story and spread the story via those few fans that we have around the globe. So this is very much applicable to every smaller community as well. So acknowledge them. I think we have sent a couple of times back quite a lot of emails with announcing the community member of the week, of the month. So this is also promoting your fans and getting them on stage. And I think this illustrates it quite well. For example, the first image you see there on the left top, that's Flavio from Brazil. And the very early beginning, he was hosting meetups, giving presentations, and was creating T-shirts for it. And this is really something. We didn't like we barely had any contact with him, and he was there organizing stuff printed with TTN t-shirts. And a lot of things happened there. Like we have Facebook groups, meetup groups that started happening in like the center of Switzerland. They created a whole package of all kind of goodie bags, etc. People in Brescia, Italy are walking around with these kind of sweaters. So first thing, think like a rock star. Second, what we've been doing quite a lot of times, and I'm pretty curious here in the audience, who have seen the webinar, the online YouTube video from Thomas Telkamp, the LoRaWAN crash course? All right, I think about half of the room. Good to hear. So we hosted like several of these online webinar sessions, and I just checked this morning. Thomas' video has now been seen over 31,000 times. So we started with those webinar sessions. Johan Stocking also did one recently about the implications of the LoRaWAN 1.1 stack. We've been doing invited a few community members to share their story, how to build up everything in their surroundings. So this is the first thing. We organize a lot of these webinars. I think you all received access to the LoRaWAN Academy. So this is one of the shots while recording it. I think this was part of the third week where I went through the different modules and the different development devices. So we're actively working on this. So together with Semtech and a few LoRa Alliance partners, including Microchip, Flex, and My Devices. So we tied up the whole course together. It's still in development, but this has been an ongoing process, and we will definitely further work this out and try to spread it globally. And of course, the third thing about education, as the market is very young, the whole reason why we organized this conference was to educate everyone. To help them start better products, making better use of the whole technology. So think like a rock star, educate. Third one is focus on connecting people. So I think everyone knows these kind of images. We have the most active forum about LoRa worldwide. We have a Slack channel with over 3,000 people involved. And every community we have has a community page we created with all the members involved. They can post updates, can easily reach out to each other, etc. But this doesn't really create proper, strong communities. It doesn't. What does make communities is focus on connecting people in real life. So we always promote, always go offline before online. The meetups we have here, those are the center point of every community, and those can bring the community forward. This was actually from the very first day of the conference. So everywhere in the world, we are pushing people to organize meetups, and therefore I have a pretty cool announcement to make as well. So keep an eye on your mail and on all our social media channels. So near the end of March, we're going to set the world record on the longest meetup ever organized. So I'm very confident that we can organize a meetup for at least 24 hours straight, all around the globe. So we have one meetup, and it starts in New Zealand, in Australia. And before it ends in Australia, I want the next meetup to start in Singapore. Next one in India. Then we go to the Middle East, Africa, Europe, all the way to America. And I want to end it in Hawaii. And between that should be at least 24 hours. So keep an eye on your mail and everything, because we are organizing this very soon. So the fourth one, I'll go a little bit more into detail here, but know how to level up. Know how to level up your community. So know where you stand, know where you're going to, and know how to get there. So I've kind of identified more or less 5 stages on how local communities evolve. So I'd like to run through them briefly, and I have an example that might look familiar. So the first level, the really bare bone of the community is getting started. So there's always one or a small group of people that are starting. So we create a community page. The person is connecting a gateway, either buying something off the shelf or creating something as a DIY. What we do when someone starts, if we create a community page and we have a kind of challenge, a gamified challenge, which is the Unleash Your City campaign, which is a an overview of 5 smaller exercises, 5 smaller things which really set the foundations for the community. So make sure you have at least some gateways in place, a few community members that are spreading the story. Make sure you're working on some PR and marketing. Set up a communication channel, and finally, as I mentioned before, offline before or online, organize a meetup. And once you've done that, then you're an official community, and that was this beautiful tweet is about in back in the days. So level 1, getting started. So once like you're an official community, like the bare foundations are set, then it becomes pretty important to become more inclusive. So what we see happening a lot is that people walk around there and they say, shit, we have no idea what is the next step. And quite often we see that there is a very small group of like hardware engineers going on, where they're kind of born with their soldering iron in their hand. And like, you have to be more diverse than that to build a very successful community. So both in people, but also in partners for the community. So make sure you have a few partners on board. It could be like several IT companies. A university comes in very handy. And quite a lot of communities as well made it happen that to have some kind of municipality to get on board as well. And for the ones that were there yesterday and followed the presentation of Gil Brewer, that's what the New York did very, very well. So they made sure, like the borough president of Manhattan, she has now a gateway of the Things Network on her table in her office. You can find it on the map as well. If you look carefully in Manhattan, you can find this image, this gateway. And like she gave the shot to help out with rolling out the network in the complete part of Manhattan. So become more inclusive. So the next step, when like that's settled, a few partnerships are set up, a more diverse community is created, then like quite often some kind of subsidy of funding is received, and then the next step is that shit, we have now a bag of money, we have resources. Well, what are we doing? Because like we might have a network, but like still we don't have valuable use cases or anything yet. So the next step is creating value, providing value. So what we see very often, and this actually something from last year in Amsterdam, is that to organize or to join a bigger hackathon, to really drive the innovative use cases that are built on top of our network. So this was in Amsterdam. It was at the Next Web conference, a three-day hack battle with like crazy number of use cases that were created. Really can help people to drive value on top of the network. As we go to the next one, and actually here it becomes very, very interesting. So set up your local cluster. And this is where we also were having a panel about this afternoon, where Gonzalo from Zurich and Andrew Maggio from Sydney is joining as well as Johan and Eric from our team. So there are like 2 important things that are happening here. So to become more sustainable and more independent from basically the guys that are here in our office. So to set up your local cluster. And quite often that comes down to 2 different things. First is like you have to make sure you need to set up some kind of legal entity. So what the guys did in Zurich, they did it very well. They set up a Verein, a non-profit association, and that's really there for the sustainability of the community as a whole. It makes it more formal and more sustainable for the future. So that's the first one. Set up your local entity, whatever it might be. And the second thing is, and that's mainly what we're going to talk about after lunch in the second keynote hall. So warmly invite you to join in there. So set up all the routing services locally. So like, don't depend on the few guys that might be here in Amsterdam, but like you can run everything locally. We can help you with that as well as the Things Network. And set up everything yourself in your city, in your region, or in your country. And actually, when we go to the final level, I had kind of a difficulty with framing it. So I gave it. Well, let's have a look. I gave it a name, Ecosystem for Innovation. Not really sure how to call it, and having some difficulties with giving it some more body as well. So I think it should be something like creating an ecosystem for innovation of products, tools, and new business models that are built on top of the Things Network. So we see every now and then that the new, like design new product is being launched based on everything people see in the community. But the big question is, I don't know what this level 5 looks like yet. Because we don't have a lot of communities, or actually we don't have communities that are now in level 5. But I want to go to level 5. I think that's more than obvious. So I want to use this day as the theme for today to find out what is then exactly this level 5. So what is it, how does it look like, and how do we get there? Thank you very much.
Excellent presentation, Lawrence. I think this is quite a way to kick off the day, and I'm sure folks sitting here can learn a lot from this insightful keynote. And before we get to the audience for asking any questions, I have one question for you. We've been working together for over the last 2 years. It's been really good. What's been the best experience for you working at the Things Network?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think quite some very good experiences. I think one of the best experiences was quite recently. I actually think I've seen some people here, which I met there as well recently, like with the whole team. It was like 1 or 2 months ago. We went for a month to South Africa, and we planned a kind of workation, so a working holiday. In South Africa, we spent a month there. We all just took our laptop, and like we don't need much more than that, and we joined a co-working space there, and started working there for a month. Interacted with the community, and I think we convinced a few people from Cape Town to go to this conference as well. So I think it was quite a success.
Oh, great. Anyone else from the audience have anything to ask from Lawrence? Any questions? Oh. Please state your name, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kurt Baumann from Switch.
Hi.
The National Research and Dedication Network in Switzerland. I would like to ask you what you have explained us to clusters, build clusters and ecosystems. What could be the stack for a National Research and Dedication Network, which we have more than 48 organizations in Europe, organized also in the Horizon 2020 project, but they are really responsible for providing the internet in the country. What is the stack of such kind of organization in your mind, building an ecosystem or I would say a cluster?
Yeah, very interesting question. Well, I'm happy to use this day to define what exactly the role is. But what we see quite often, you have horizontal and you have vertical communities. So then verticals, those are very clearly located in one specific area. So they quite often consist of government, university, a hackerspace, some IT companies, and they are basically mixed together, located in one area. And we quite often see as well that we have horizontal communities as well that are not located in one place, but have one specific theme. So that is very interesting, and we'd love to discuss that further, to have a theme of research institutes, but also of universities, primary education centers, these kind of things. Like Fernando Kuipers also announced during his keynote earlier on this week, he wants to set up basically a larger database with all the research that's conducted in and around the Things Network. So research institute, universities have easier access to those documents, have more knowledge what's going on. And I think something like that could be maybe also applicable in your situation.
Anyone else with a question? All right, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much.